Welcome back to Parent Squad. Summer is in full swing, and for many families, that means relaxed schedules and less structure. It can also mean summer slide. That's where kids fall back on what they learned throughout the school year. So how can we make sure that the kids have a sweet summer and stay sharp for the upcoming year? Well, here to help us do that is Indianapolis Moms contributor and mom of 8, Amanda Hauser. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, super exciting. So let's talk about some simple things to do, like reading every day.
Right. If you lined up 99 teachers and said, what's the #1 thing that you need to do over the summer? 99 of them would say, read. And I know a lot of parents feel a lot of pushback from kids because their kids, maybe they don't enjoy reading so much. So there's a lot of great ways that we can keep our kids reading through the summer without, fancy reading programs, expensive tutors, online, resources that may get expensive and costly and time consuming. So simple things like visit your local library.
Oh, yes.
They have a lot of reading programs. Do you remember as a kid, we used to do Book It? You read for your pizza.
Yeah.
So how can we incentivize reading for our children? Make it fun, make it a challenge, make it a game at your house, or even just designate a family reading time where everybody's going to sit down and read. That way there's no FOMO. We're not missing out on something that's going on while everybody else is playing. We can all read together. And my last tip with reading would be just find what works for your child. If you have a young child, you're going to obviously be reading to them, right? So how can you encourage them to retell the story? How can you ask questions as you go along, help them think about their reading, make connections, make predictions, all of those fun things you can do as you're reading to a child. And then if you have a reluctant reader who's a little bit older, no holds barred. Like if they want to read teen magazine or a car magazine or a graphic novel or a comic book, reading is reading. Read a cookbook.
Reading is reading.
Reading is reading.
Yeah. Hello, child of an educator here, checking in. And just the amount of time I remember in our younger years and a little bit in middle school, the amount of time that we spent at the library, I think that sets the stage for everything.
Right.
So how can I understand, okay, my kid's 2, so, we're reading to him and you're at the beginning, I feel like you can really foster that. What if you do have the 15, 16-year-old and they want to go hang out with their friends and be on tablets and screens? How do you do that then to try to rein in the older child?
That's really hard. You have to set a lot of expectations and have a lot of agreements. We have teens at our house. We have reluctant readers at our house. It's just finding the right material. So something that interest them. I always say if you don't like reading, it's because you haven't found the right book yet. So really explore all the different genres. We also have agreements like there's no tablet time before there's X, Y, or Z. So if you have that agreement going into it that, nope, we're going to put the iPad down.
Okay, so for some kids, it really might be like a little bit harder pulling teeth. It depends on the person, depends on the children. But I like what you said. We can lead from the front, as always. We always try to do as parents.
Yeah, model.
Model. All right, another way to help keep kids engaged is to sneak lessons into everyday life. Immediately, I'm thinking about cooking and just the ways possibly I can involve a toddler. What do you mean sneak lessons in everyday life?
This is my favorite teacher tip or former teacher tip. All of that stuff that you want to do during the school day, but you don't have time to do that enrichment, that engagement, shove it in the summer and no one even knows that you're really learning. When you take your children to the grocery store, and I know you were talking about a toddler, but even like school-age children, taking them to the grocery store and teaching them like, oh gosh, let's look at, this is on sale, but price per unit, is it really cheaper to buy in bulk or is it cheaper to buy this quantity? Walking through that, think about the meal planning, the nutrition counts in your meal planning, and then coming home and doing all the math involved with the actual cooking. Summer's a great time to travel. What are all the things that you can do to have a little co-pilot with you, help you plan your summer trip, the geography involved, the map skills that seem to be dead now that we always use, our Google Maps. And you get out a map and show your children how do those maps actually work, and the highway systems, planning stops, budgeting your trips, finding the hotels, what's the history behind everything that you're stopping and seeing along the way. There are so many great things that you can do just intrinsically with your everyday life. Include your children in everything. Narrate for your toddler. Narrate everything you're doing.
Okay.
Oh, mommy's putting the flour in next. All the dry ingredients go first. And if as much as you can narrate, you're just innately, you're building vocabulary, you're building experiences, and that's the real stuff that counts for
Okay,
kids.
spoken like a true educator. And what you're talking about, like the logistics planning, there are some adults that cannot do that.
Oh,
They
yeah.
cannot plan, figure out the route, cannot read a map, things like that. It's
Yes.
necessary. Okay, and a good middle ground for summer is maintaining a simple routine. How do we do
Right.
that?
Okay, so think about your behavior goals. Like if I'm looking at this from the lens of being a parent and I have behavior goals for my kids during the summer, some of my kids thrive with no schedule. They're like, I've got it. They can be loosey-goosey and we don't have behavior problems and everything's fine. Some are little soldiers and they need like a strict routine, or the train goes off the rails, you start to see a lot of challenging behavior. So first, as a parent, ask yourself, do I have behavior goals? If my behavior goals are like, I really need this child to be able to X, Y, and Z while mom is doing the Zooms in the office, then we need to front load that schedule and give them the tools that they need to be successful. So maybe we don't need a minute-by-minute schedule,
Yes.
but if our children know, okay, every morning, this is our tentative schedule. We get up, you make your bed and have breakfast while mom does this, and then it's free play for you until I circle back to you at lunch. Then we're gonna have lunch together, and then I'm gonna give you a couple hours and we'll do either the pool or some friend time. And then in the afternoon, that's gonna be when you are going to read and do chores while I finish up the rest of my day. So if you can even just time block that a little bit for the kids and give them a loose schedule. And if they need a more structured schedule than that, then obviously you can get more specific.
Yeah, well, what I love about what you're saying is knowing your child and the difference between them.
Right.
And you would certainly know that with 8, but if you have 2 or 3 and there's just one that might be struggling, well, maybe we're not catering to their needs or catering to the structure that they need or the attention that they need. And just because
Absolutely.
they're different than the other 2 or 3 doesn't make them the problem, the bad child.
No, it's what you hit the nail on the head. It's what your child needs. Remember that brain feels safety when it has a predictable and stable structure. So if you're getting a lot of behaviors and a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings, it's that little kiddo is probably in fight or flight in some realm, and they just need more stability. So you can give that to them through a schedule.
Okay. For a lot of kids, summer means more freedom. How can parents use that to teach independence? I feel like you kind of touched on it a little bit.
Right. Think about freedom for you too, as the parent. When your child is constantly relying on you to make the grilled cheese or to open the mail or to do whatever it is that they need you, that takes away from your productivity too.
Yes.
So when you can teach some skills to your kids to allow them to independently do things, number one, they're not waiting on you. And number two, you're not spending your time doing things that they can do on their own. So even very small children can learn to feed the pet, can learn to put toys away, can learn to do all sorts of things around the house to help you. Older children might be able to meal plan with you or for you, or switch the laundry or do those certain things. So if you spend summer, which most of us have a little bit of extra wiggle room in the summer, that's a great time to teach those skills to really increase freedom for them and for us.
You are such an expert. Okay, protecting their social skills is key. What are ways to protect the social skills?
Okay.
And how would they lose it? I guess if they're not around children as much.
Sometimes, so
it depends.
It depends on your summer, right? Like, so some kids are around more children in the summer than they are during the school year, and some it's vice versa.
Interesting.
You know, some are used to being in a classroom environment where they have 20 classmates and a teacher is constantly monitoring those relationships and helping foster those skills like sharing and negotiating and taking turns and problem solving and entering into play and having conversations. Some children come home for school for the summer and they're just home with a caretaker or a babysitter or maybe an elderly grandparent, and they don't have children around them anymore. And so that play looks a lot different all of a sudden. And so we need to protect those social skills, those things that we learn during the school year, like all those things I just said, sharing, communicating. So how can we do that? Vacation Bible School, the library programs, the small camps, going to the park, meeting other children. Just make sure that you can protect and upkeep those social skills that we work really hard on during the school year.
I chuckled because I have Vacation Bible School memories. Okay, lastly, you say summer's a great time to build executive function skills, teaching kids to be good at life. What are some ways to do that? And why would you say it's so important? So we just talked about this. I was like, what's executive function skills?
Right, it's the soft skills that we can't necessarily put our finger on that we adults do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We manage our time, we manage our effort, our communication skills. So think about, I think a lot of parents, when it comes to summer, they're like, oh, we have to do like summer skill and we have to do our summer school and the workbooks and all the things. We don't need kids who are good at worksheets. We need kids who are good at life.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the things that you know as an adult that really help you get through your day? Let's spend summer bolstering those skills in our kids. Maybe it's simply keeping ourselves accountable to the first thing you do when you wake up is you make your bed, you get your room organized, you bring down your dirty clothes, and you start your day with a healthy routine. That's a skill that some adults still struggle with every day. Fun things like, oh, let's have a lemonade stand. What are all the parts and pieces that go into having a lemonade stand? The preparation, the budget, the planning, the science, all of those are executive functioning skills that kids can learn over the summer in a really fun way.
I love it. I love it. You said we need good humans. We need good adults. We need good people. I was like, preach, sister. Okay. Thank you, as always, for the great advice. We certainly appreciate it. She always has a lot more. You can read more of her advice at WTHR.com/Parent Squad. We have more to come as well, so stay with us.